Europe, 2003. Temperatures are reaching heights these people never thought they would see. From June through mid-August, nights were hotter than their midday averages. Every day was as high as 30% warmer than what had become common. Over 30,000 were lost as a direct result of this heat wave. 14,000 in France alone. The European heat wave of 2003 was certainly no joke. Fast forward to 2006 and move over to the United States. More specifically, California. Another heat wave. Not uncommon for that area of the world, but this one broke LA County records. It lasted a mere 10 days, going from the 16th to the 26th of that July, yet it managed to claim the lives of at least 130 people. Newer research shows that it might have even been somewhere in the 400s. The 2006 North American heat wave did plenty of damage given the circumstances.
Two perfectly good examples of the extreme weather that we classify as a heat wave, each very different and yet very much the same. One of them lasted 3 months, the other half of 3 weeks. They appeared in very different places on the world's map, and each caused a strikingly different number of casualties. That one in 2006 had much less time and a much smaller area to cause its havoc. I'd reckon that Californians were a bit more prepared than, say, the French. When you think of Paris, you don't necessarily think about soaring temperatures, but LA is a bit of a different story. However, it was the same class of event, and with the same class of event comes the same dangers and risks. But let's take a step back, shall we? We've got a couple of examples of these so-called heat waves, but we haven't yet defined what they are. A heat wave, to put it simply, is a period of abnormally or dangerously high temperatures that lasts for at least several days. That's all well and good, sure, but how do they work? That's the real question. Well, me from a few seconds ago, and practically no one else. I'm glad you asked. It starts with a hot air mass that's just hanging out in a given area. When the pressure is high, it starts pushing down on this warm air, which creates a kind of bubble that traps the heat near the ground. Ordinarily, the low density of a warm air mass causes it to rise above everything else. But the high air pressure is having none of it. The hot air can't escape the pressure, thus creating a sustained condition of abnormally high temperature and humidity. None of the hot air can condense into clouds or precipitation, so it stays as vapor in the surrounding area. This also means that heat waves can cause drought and horrible fires. It's not just unpleasant, it's downright dangerous. Though you might not think about it like this, heat waves are actually considered to be natural disasters, and rightfully so. They kill more people than plenty of other severe weather events combined. The high temperatures cause dehydration, heat exhaustion, and even heat stroke, all of which can be highly dangerous. If your brain isn't getting enough water, you'll start to feel faint and dizzy. Once you start shifting into heat exhaustion territory, your muscles will cramp up and you'll feel sick. You'll be afflicted with nausea, and you might end up losing your lunch. Heat stroke is where things take a turn for the worse, though. It's something that can and will kill you very quickly. It's often associated with splitting headaches and a loss of consciousness. Heat stroke requires immediate medical attention if you want to avoid fatality. Not only will it affect your body, but heat waves are linked to power outages. With everyone cranking up the AC so high, electricity gets way overused, which could lead to stop working altogether. Without air-conditioned buildings, people could be in some real trouble. It isn't hopeless, though. Obviously, there are measures that can be taken to keep people alive in these situations. People take care to stay inside of air-conditioned buildings so that they aren't stranded out in the heat. This way, they can keep their body temperature low. It's important to dress light during a heat wave. Listen, I know we all love our hoodies to death, but let's not take that literally. Short, loose-fitting clothing is the way to go in these conditions. Eating lighter meals will keep you from getting hotter too. People also tend to avoid appliances that'll end up heating their home, like an oven. Don't bake when it's 107 degrees out. And most importantly, drink water. This is really serious. The most essential part of a personal safety plan is to have access to drinking water, and to drink it. The high temperatures will dehydrate you, and they'll dehydrate you fast. People need water to survive. I'm pretty sure we all know this. Dehydration is probably what kills most people during heat waves. Also, if you have pets, keep them little boyos inside so they don't die of heat stroke either. So that's what people usually do to keep themselves safe when heat waves show up. But the folks experiencing these conditions aren't the only ones trying to do that. I wanted to take a look at how the media handles heat waves, more specifically weather forecasts on television. To my surprise, they actually do it pretty well. I grew up in California, and I don't remember hearing anything about minor heat waves. But then again, I was like 7, and the news is boring! I took a look at a forecast made in New England back in 2014, and there was plenty of warning. Danielle Niles, the weather lady, talked about how high the temperatures would be all week. Like always, she put a number to those high temperatures and mentioned the high humidity. She also told her audiences to stay hydrated and inside, which is perfect advice for anyone in a heat wave. Overall, the media does a pretty nice job at warning people about extreme circumstances. But personally, I think that there's one thing that they could be doing a bit of a better job at. No offense or anything to these weather stations, you guys are doing a fantastic job, and I'm just a middle schooler pretending to know what I'm talking about. But if there's one thing I've noticed, it's that no one really thinks about drastic heat waves as what they are: natural disasters. If you asked some random person on the street whether or not they thought heat waves were natural disasters, chances are the answer would be no. But technically they are. It's not something people think about a lot, but heat waves are super dangerous. They're thought to cause more deaths than hurricanes. Hurricanes. Like the first thing that pops into your head when you hear natural disaster, and heat waves kill more people than that. Yeesh. I haven't really seen media outlets describing heat waves this way. I think that maybe they should. I think that if people were more aware of the real danger that these events pose, they might be a little more prepared and thus less of them would die. But yeah, that's my 2 cents. So there you go. A couple of famous heat waves, how those things get made, how they might kill you, how not to get killed by them, and the approach of the weather ladies of the world. That's it. That's the end. Bye. Drink water.
Hey, that's my line!